The amazing relationship that I'm currently in right now, the one where I manifested my specific person back, was not always as amazing as it currently is. In fact, prior to our breakup, I was as bad as a boyfriend as you could possibly be. And while I'm absolutely not proud of that whatsoever, I want to be transparent with you today to help you get over the fact that if you did do some things wrong, if you were chasing, if you were anxious, if you did look for validation and you did all of those things, assuming you change your thinking, you can still manifest your specific person back and have it do a complete 180 so it is better than either of you could have ever imagined. Because that's my journey. So I want to give you what I did today so that you can learn from my mistakes to make use of it in your own journey so that you can have that specific person back and have it be as perfect as you could possibly have imagined. But jumping straight into it, like I mentioned earlier on in the intro, I was as bad as it could be. I chased, I was anxious, I caused 90% of the arguments. I was emotional, I was reactive, I was insecure, I was unconfident. Pretty much every negative trait someone could have, I had, essentially. And like I said, I'm not proud of it whatsoever, but I made the changes, and that's how I got to where I am today. But let's get into those changes. Let's actually give you what it was that I did. Now, like I said earlier, you change up here to make that 180, and that's exactly what I did. During the process of Katie and I being broken up, yes, we were in no contact, but that is obviously entirely up to you. This is just sort of my journey, make of it what you will. But we were in no contact. I made no effort to contact, I made no effort to check social medias, I made no effort to speak to her friends or get my friends to check her social medias or anything like that. If you were to see how I acted in the 3D, you would think that I didn't know Katie even existed. It was completely just shutting off. Now, the reason why I chose to do that is because manifestation is all about the dominant state that you're in, creating what you desire. I made it so that I gave myself as little negatives to have to battle as possible. If I was checking social medias, if I was seeing her snap score go up or whatever, I would have to then battle those thoughts and overcome those thoughts and overcome those things that now my mind has attached itself to. So I chose not to do that because I didn't think that it was the best way to go about it. And to be honest, I'm glad that I did because it made my process just that little bit easier. But nonetheless, I knew that I wanted Katie back. And I knew that I wanted her back than ever before. And I knew that circumstances don't matter. Yes, of course, I screwed up. I'd let my insecurities and such get the better of me, and I did make some mistakes, which is, why we broke up. But I knew that those circumstances didn't actually matter. The fact that she said we were not compatible, the fact that she said that there was no future between us, the fact that she said that she was more anxious around me than she was calm, or yes, we had some great times, but they were overshadowed by the negative times. All things that I had coming to mind and such things during this process. Even in spite of all that, I knew that assuming I got up here right, I would get out there right. And that's exactly what happened. So what I did was something that back then I used to refer to as my technique portfolio, taken sort of as a reference point from investment portfolios. If you have investments in Apple, McDonald's, and Nike, if one of them isn't doing so well, but the other two are doing well, then your portfolio, obviously depending on how well and not well they're doing, your portfolio would still be on the up. And that's kind of the way that I saw the techniques. If I didn't have the greatest of visualizations, at least I wouldn't have to panic about whether or not it's going to work because I knew that my scripting and my affirmations on the side were good. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that wasn't the best visualization, but it's okay because the affirmations and the scriptings are doing their things. So that's why I used to refer to it as the technique portfolio. Now, I may not necessarily use that technique strategy now, but again, this is what I did back then to get to where I am now. But what I would do every morning when I woke up and every night just before I went to sleep, I tried to fall asleep to it, but I wasn't always successful. I think I did it on maybe one of the nights, but this was many years ago, so I can't exactly remember fully. But I would bring to mind the visual scene of me knocking on the door, Katie opening it, and then us embracing, and her telling me that she's so happy we're giving this another go. That scene, while technically does imply the reconciliation and not necessarily the full-blown amazing relationship, it still detailed the idea of us giving it another go. So, I made use of this scene. morning, as soon as I woke up, I tried to put myself in that space because, of course, in the morning and night, your mind is more natural in that sort of sleepier, receptive state, the alpha brainwave state. Therefore, your subconscious mind is more receptive. So I made use of that scene as soon as I woke up and as soon as I went to sleep, implying that Katie was happy that we had reconciled. After I had done my visualization and before I did my visualization at night, so after I did it in the morning and then before I did it at night, I would also script. Now, just a standard A5 book, I would fill it out maybe 1, 2, maybe even 3 pages if I was feeling particularly scripting moody. And it would basically be affirmations. I would just write them out. Stuff like, I'm so happy Katie and I are giving it another go. I'm so happy Katie and I are in the most loving relationship. Katie thinks we're compatible. Things like that. And I would just go through and I would script and I would try to just place myself in that moment, let the world around me just sort of disappear for a few moments while I was scripting, and just, Katie and I are in the most loving, passionate, committed relationship. Katie and I are perfectly compatible. Katie knows that we're perfectly compatible. Things like that. And that's pretty much, obviously if I had time, but that's pretty much how my morning and just before I went to sleep at night went. As I went through my day, and this, I think, is the most impactful part of the whole thing, because that's when most of the negative thoughts were coming up, and that's when most of the quote-unquote battling was going on. But as I went through my day, I knew what I wanted. I wanted a relationship, and I wanted us back and better than ever before. So I would try to stay as vigilant as possible with keeping an eye on my thoughts. Now, of course, I'm human, just like you, so I missed a fair few. I definitely didn't miss a lot. I was very on top of it. But I did miss a fair few thoughts. But that doesn't matter, because it's the dominant state that manifests, not the perfect state. But any time that I had a thought come to mind, I would do one of two things. Both affirmation both affirmation strategies. If it was a thought that came to mind and I was easily able to navigate past it, I would simply sit there and be like, that's not true, because insert new story. So an example, if it came to mind that Katie thought that we weren't compatible, I would tell myself in that moment, that's not true at all, because Katie knows that we're compatible right now. Or that's not true because Katie thinks that we are compatible. Or that's not true because Katie and I are in fact compatible. I would simply just understand that that thought came up, but choose not to associate with it. Because as I say in all of my videos, it's not what comes up that matters, it's where you take it. So when it came up, that's not true, because in fact, this new story is true. And then I would try to reside within that new story for a few moments, really let it take my focus. And then when I felt good, then I went on with my day. Then I carried on playing the game or reading the book or watching the show or whatever it was I was doing, and kind of let it sort of fall away. I think you're probably doing extremely well in your manifestation journey, but I think you could get your desire even quicker, and I can help you with that. These people here that I'm about to put up on the screen, they all was willing to test my I Manifest For You service, which is essentially where I write a daily script that I send over to you, and then I hold your affirmations or your desired end in my thoughts as I go about my day. This is literally me manifesting for you as an aid. And as you just saw, a lot of people are having some really good success from it. So if you want that faster manifestation, if you want a helping hand, if you want to feel like you're not doing it alone, I can help you with that. So I highly recommend you sign up now and get me while it is available. Thank you so much for your time. Now into the rest of the video. If I couldn't just flip the thought, if it had a little bit more of an impact on me, I worked with it using the I Remember When technique. Now, I did actually do a full video on how I did this a couple of weeks ago, so if you're more interested in it, I recommend checking that one out. I'll probably put it in a card up here somewhere maybe. But the I Remember When technique, I think, and I don't know if it was intended to be used in this way, but in my opinion is an excellent technique when you can't get your mind off of the bad thing that you are thinking about, but you want to make it work for you. So let's say it's the compatibility thing again. If I just could not shake that thought, every time I was like, no, that's not true, because we are in fact compatible, and I kept doing it and doing it and doing it, and it just was not working. In those moments, I would let my mind ruminate on that negative, but in a way that benefits me by saying, I remember when she thought we weren't compatible, but now we are in fact compatible. And what this kind of allowed my mind to do, the way that I kind of understand my mind and how it worked at this moment, It's the first technique of saying, no, that isn't true. That was almost denying, well, I mean, it was denying it. That was denying what my mind was telling me, which then flared up all the signals in my mind saying, oh yeah, but she said this and she did this. But the I remember when technique doesn't deny it. It states it as true, but now things are different. I remember when she thought we weren't compatible, or I remember when we weren't compatible. Oh, one of my lights died. I remember when we weren't compatible, but now we are. And this allowed for a much better ability to navigate through those thoughts, as opposed to the doubts, the fears, the concerns to take over. And that's pretty much what I did throughout my day. Anytime a thought came to mind, no, that's not true, because we are in a loving relationship. We are back and better than we ever have been before. We are perfectly compatible and things of that nature. If I couldn't do that, then I remember when we were incompatible, but now we're compatible. I remember when we were broken up, but now we're back and better than ever before. I remember when I was insecure, but now I'm calm, confident, and secure, and such things like that. That is the manifestation process. It was a rinse and repeat thing until I missed her call, called her back. And one thing that's amazing about that story, which I don't know if I've ever told on a video before, I know Katie told it in her This Is What Katie Felt While Being Manifested video that's on the membership, but I'm not sure if I said it on an actual video. But I had the kind of reconciliation that many of you would want. I missed her call and I went and called her back. Due to me missing her call, she was already on her way to come show up at my door, which I know so many of you would love right now. You want your person to be just showing up and being like, hey, we're getting back together. And that's pretty much what happened. I called her back, hey, what's up? And she was like, look, I've been thinking, I really want to meet, I really want to talk it over, such things like that. I'm already on the way to a house. And I was like, oh, hey, but I'm staying somewhere else now. You know, if you really want to meet, come pick me up and we'll talk about it. And then we did. And one extra little tidbit, which again, I don't think I've spoken about in any kind of video, besides the video where Katie talks about how she felt. Due to my willingness to make changes, I didn't actually initially jump straight back into the relationship, sort of like, oh yeah, take me back, that's all great. I did get back with her the same day that we spoke about it, but due to me understanding that I knew I needed to make changes, not only within myself, but within this relationship dynamic, I actually refused to get back with Katie unless things from both sides of us changed. And we made the agreement there and then that things would be different, which actually shocked Katie because she genuinely thought that it was just going to be a case of, reconciliation, which of course, because in my head, I was affirming that she thought we were compatible, she was head over heels in love with me and all those kinds of things. So the version of her that I was experiencing due to the impression had nothing in mind about the idea of there couldn't possibly be a reconciliation due to what I'd done up here. So when I said to her, no, unless XYZ thing happens, she was genuinely shocked, which I think is just another factor, I suppose you could say, or like another piece of evidence to suggest that my reality is created by me. She was so certain that we were not compatible and that there was no future for us. And then by the time I had managed to, impress my subconscious mind, she'd done a 180, so much so that she was shocked that we might not have got back together unless things changed. She was chasing me. She was calling me. She was ready to show up at my house, which another thing as well, that is one rule that I have always had amongst anyone that I've ever spoken to, friends, someone that I've dated, even family members. I cannot stand people just showing up at my house. I hate it to a very severe degree. Obviously, there's instances where it's fine, like if you're like a mailman or whatever. But you know what I mean? Like if someone just shows up unannounced, I don't like it. And Katie was willing to break that rule in order to try and reconcile with me. So if I could do it, you could too. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video. My light clearly didn't, since it decided to dip out halfway through. But I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think of like the lighting and stuff. Obviously, I know now it's not good, but if you didn't see it, skip back earlier on into the video. I've seen other channels, not necessarily LOA channels, but other sort of YouTube channels do these little like strobe light kind of things in the background, and I really like the look of it. So I spent quite a bit of money on them, and I'm really hoping that you guys like the look of it. If you even watch the video, if you just listen, then just imagine pretty lights. But I like them. I just want to know what your opinion is. But nonetheless, thank you so much for watching this video today. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you can take some good notes for it. And I hope you've enjoyed the extra little parts of my story that I've never spoken about at the end of the video. If you are in need of one-to-one help to get your person showing up at your door, I do have coaching services available where I can help you in the same way that I helped myself. So if you're interested in that, head down below into the comment section or the description. There you'll find the link tree where you can find the links to my website. If you're looking for the full Manifest Your X-Back course, which is a full 1 hour and 40-minute video packed with everything that I thought you would need at the time of creating that video, in the link tree there is a link to my membership. Sign up for any of the tiers and you'll gain access to that video. I would recommend the gold tier, however, because the gold tier comes with a 10-minute video call as well as access to the members only live streams. And in fact, here is a success story from someone who had a 10-minute call, or here's a movement success story video comment from someone who had a 10-minute call with me last week. If you need any more specific person content, click this playlist, like, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will catch you lovely soldiers next time.